No spring DIY project is complete without a cleanup plan. Now, whether you're tackling a garage overhaul, prepping before painting, cleaning up the workshop, or getting the deck and patio ready for warmer days, Simple Green All-Purpose Cleaner has you covered. This powerhouse cuts through dirt, oil, grease, and grime, and it's US EPA Safer Choice certified. Strong enough for your toughest cleaning jobs, safer for your home. One cleaner for every project. Visit simplegreen.com.
Emotionally unavailable.
Well, welcome back. It's so good to see you. I took a nap before this because I usually take a nap around this time, but I was like, well, I'm not going to sacrifice my afternoon nap, so I got to get it in. And I really didn't even need it because last night I got the best night's sleep I've had in a while.
Oh, I'm
I got to
pleased for
bed at
you.
a
That's
decent
so
time.
great.
Yeah, it was so great, but I was still like, well, a little nap is okay because I'm still doing really good at staying awake in the mornings. I get up at like 6, and then I do take a nap around 2 or 3, but that's still much better than I was a few months ago, where I was like, I think I'll just go back to sleep.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
sleeping a bunch, so
Yeah.
I'm
No,
doing better with
and
my
that's the thing. Yeah, but that's the thing. Sometimes you do need more sleep and then sometimes it changes and it's just, I mean, that being able to sleep I remember that time. It's so incredible just being able to, I still don't
Yeah.
sleep amazingly well, but I will have like 2 good nights and then a bad night. But, just that feeling that you're not in sleep deficit or you're, able to function, like sleep is so important. Yeah. So
Yeah,
good
because you
on
know
you
what
for
I
the
do
naps.
notice? Good Lord. What I've noticed is the tired is like you can't work through it. You know what I
Wow.
like when you get to that I'm so tired place, there's no I can push through because I just know what the consequences of pushing through would be. And
Yeah.
I know that some of this is just because in general over the last couple years I've been less active because I started working at home and whatever. But man, activity, like we went out for a field trip for Charlie on Saturday and I was outside for hours and I came home and had to take Benadryl, ibuprofen. I mean, like all the allergy stuff was like, oh, you have no immune built up. And I was just exhausted and achy and then like had chest congestion for several days and I know that wasn't all just because of allergens, like
No,
the
no.
tired is just so weird.
And that's an absolute grief thing. I had a similar thing. It was I like hiking, like going out into the bush and doing long walks and things. And I hadn't done it for about a year. And my partner and I went away to do a 4-day hike. And I had to turn around and come back because my body just couldn't handle it. And this was something that I used to, before Kalia died, did regularly. Like we would walk 8 hours, and stay somewhere and then continue. So this was not something that my um, body hadn't done before. And I was just exhausted. First day, God, I just said, I have to turn around. This is unsafe. Like to think about staying the night somewhere, maybe not sleeping that night as well,
Yeah.
because you're in a hut with other people. But it was incredible. I don't think that we understand how much grief really does affect the body. And I just felt I was so surprised I couldn't do it. Yeah. And and actually making that choice, not pushing through was such an act of one self-care, but also safety. I mean, what if I'd gone on further and then couldn't get out? But
Yes.
but it is so incredible. And that's why I turn back to all the time that grief isn't just an emotion. It affects every part of you. Yeah. So I
Yes.
really feel that, really resonate with that one.
Oh my gosh. And I have never taken it as seriously as I do now either, because again, I know what the consequences will be if I don't.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that one really early. And I know Like, I wouldn't be surprised truly because I'm 45, which is not old, but it's certainly not in my 20s that can recover in 24 hours.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't be surprised if 4 months down the line, I'm still recovering from those first of all, like 72 hours where there was just a couple of hours of sleep in a 3-day
Yeah.
period. And then also just the 10 days that followed because the funeral planning and all of the things, like, never imagined it would be that exhausting. And so
Yeah.
I really wouldn't be surprised if I am still recovering from that, just because that I remember feeling like, oh, this is taking a toll. And right then
Mm,
is when I had to start, like, prioritizing sleep. Anytime I could, I
yeah.
slept. And I never felt bad about it, but that's just because
Mm,
of all the work I'd done prior to it. But I did get to a place where I was feeling a little better and was like, I gotta figure out how to stay awake a little more because, like, I'm not getting
mm,
stuff done. But that's why I allow myself my afternoon nap every single day. Even though I know it's affecting my sleep at night, I can't, unless I was to be out of the house at that time, I cannot push past, like, I'm so tired by then. Every day by 2 o'clock, I'm like, I just need to sleep for like 30 minutes and I'll feel so much better. But
See,
it
I
has
and
been weird.
yeah, and it's interesting how grief is just so unique to all of us. See, I had the opposite. I couldn't sleep, so I would get myself so busy or so exhausted that I would fall into bed. And then I would be awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. I would awake enough to get up, and that was when so I was living for months on probably 2, 3 hours sleep because I
Oh,
couldn't sleep. I couldn't stop my brain. So it's so interesting. And I love sleep. Like, I am a person, like, I need a good 8 hours sleep. So, yeah, that really absolutely took a toll on me. And I did things like I went and got sleeping pills and things like that to try and reset. And they were wonderful at the time. As soon as I stopped taking them, back to
right.
being awake. And, um, and that was something that I struggled with I mean, I still struggle with sleep now. Like I said, I'll have 2 nights sleep good and then a bad one. And then, it's part of my world now. And I just live for that day that I'll be able to sleep for a whole week. It'll be wonderful.
Oh my gosh. When I look at my calendar and it's like a fairly empty day, I don't do near as much as I should on the weekends. And I don't even mean like house stuff. I don't go enjoy I'm still very much just like, we get to just lay around. How
Yeah.
great. Oh, I mean, we'll watch, sports together and whatever, but not having plans is my favorite thing right now. And actually, like,
I'm the
plans
same.
have picked
Mm.
up and that's been really nice too, but then the contrast is like no plans. It's so funny to me. But I wonder too, cuz I I've always, no, I wouldn't say always, but for a while, I've been a person who prefers to fall asleep listening to something. And but I could make myself lay down and with just like a noise machine and go to sleep that way. But since Jake, I have to be halfway listening to my little comfort show, Grey's Anatomy, because the first time I tried, like that, I remember those earliest days, like that was the only thing I could think about. And it was still such just pain that, like, once it started, my heart rate would increase and then I'd be up all night and could
Mm.
not shut it off. But if I'm listening to something, I can, as long as I didn't over caffeinate or sleep too long in my nap, I can make myself go to sleep, but I have to be listening to something. So for a while, my husband would come in and turn it off, and
Mm.
and he's a night owl. So he's coming in at like 2 a.m. I'd be up. It would wake me up and I'd be up because if I woke up, I'd be thinking about Jake and I couldn't go back to sleep.
See, isn't that funny? See, I was the opposite. So, and maybe it was my nervous system being so on high alert, so noises would wake me up. So I need pure silence to go to
Oh,
sleep. Isn't that funny? Yeah, I mean, it just goes to
yes.
show how different it is for each person. That's why we've got to find our own way through. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
any noise will wake me up. Yeah, and
Well,
that's it. Yeah.
do you just made me think about how I'm noticing, while a slight improvement, I mean, and I've been noticing this, and I talked to you something about it the last time you were here, but um I feel like this got a little tiny bit better, and then maybe not like worse like it used to be, but like a little less better. But I'm wondering, is your nervous system better now?
Mm,
Or like, because noises that make me think something happened, I'm 0 to 100 so quickly
yeah.
still. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so scared.
I think
Hey guys, it's me. Emotionally Unavailable is produced 100% in-house by me with no team. So if this show has ever helped you and you want to give back, subscribe to the Patreon. There's several different levels with different benefits in each. Check the show notes and you can see what each tier subscription will get you. I also plan to there's also lots of fun things coming down the pipeline for the Patreon subscribers. So get in early. You can get a workbook, you can buy merch, you can do any of the things, and all of that supports the show to help it keep going. Really appreciate every single one of you. I love you so much, and I can't wait to see what we continue to do together.
think that's such an important point and something that I've reflected on actually recently. The answer is yes and no. So I've found that because, of course, when something sudden happens, like it's happened to you and I, the world feels in chaos. So your nervous system is full alarm all the time. I have
Mm-hmm.
found that I can't handle things that happen that I don't know about. And I'm talking about, like, for example, at work this week, one of our managers has resigned, and that's actually tipped me over a little bit. Like, I'm like, well, what's going on? What's happening? Why has he resigned? You know, what's going to happen? How's this going to change? And it's actually put my nervous system on edge again. Whereas before Carlia's death, I'd think, oh, someone's resigned. Oh, yeah, okay, we'll get a new person in. That's kind of exciting, a good opportunity. So, no, my nervous system is still, and I'm 2 years. Carlia just had her. It was 2 years since she died on a couple of days ago. So
Oh, okay.
it was, yeah, so I'm definitely still that hyper alert, that nervous system on edge. And I have been mentally thinking that I need to do, a bit more sort of getting into that meditation space and that real calming space to really try and settle my nervous system because it's still on alert. Yeah.
Yeah. And now I don't know if this is a little more specific to me because I was already afraid of, like, it's been a fear since my dad died at 15 that someone else I would love would die in this way, and finding them, like, all of those are kind of my worst fears. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that's why I'm still, but it is not any better. Like, I'm still scared every single day
Yeah.
that I'm gonna find one of my
Yeah.
family members dead every day,
And that's
every day.
valid. Yeah, absolutely valid. And I think that is, how, I mean, because we've got cortisol inflows in the body, and so, so it's hormonal. It's not just a feeling. It's getting pulled back into that moment and being pulled back. So I do think that it is about strategies and how to calm yourself. I don't know if that's something that settles on its own without a lot of work behind it, but I don't know
Yeah.
because I'm still feeling it. But I do feel that it's not something that's going to settle for me on itself. Like, I need to work actively in that space. Yeah, that's a hard, yeah, I'd love for it to settle. And like, I mean, I remember when Carlia died, I thought, the worst thing has happened to me. I can be free. Like, nothing else is going to be bad. I don't need to fear anything. Like, it was
Anything, yeah.
a glorious afternoon when I felt that. And then I feared everything, and I still fear everything. It's that hypervigilance that, yeah, your nervous
Yes.
system is always on edge. And that's probably why our sleep is still a little bit off, because that affects. But no, I am far more fearful than I ever was. And I remember when my youngest son got sick not long after Kalia died, like a couple of months after her death. And I was completely paranoid that he had done something to himself.
Mhm.
I really had to pull myself back and not let him know that I felt that way, because that was unfair to him. He was sick and he needed my help and my comfort, not
Right.
me freaking out. But those things still I find extremely hard. Anything that happens that I'm not prepared for or I don't have control over really, really affects me. And I used to be a very calm person. Nothing really stressed me out too much. I just sort of think, okay, we've got to do these steps and we work through and, everything's fine. I'm not that
Yeah.
person anymore. Yeah. Yeah. But
Well,
I would
that's
like
good to
to work.
hear because I thought it was just because I wasn't. Like, I didn't used to
No.
be a super calm person. I've worked over the last 2 years to become much more calm, and it worked. I mean, I was
Mm,
doing pretty well, but the second this happened, I mean,
no.
the PTSD is so real. I mean, it is
Yeah.
so real, and I'm doing much better with flashbacks, but that was an interesting experience because it wasn't what I thought it would be. You know what I mean? Like it was a very different experience than I ever thought, but my son is experiencing that too. And so
Mm,
we kind of like compared what was happening in our brains and that it was very similar, but that I feel like some of that is getting better and um I'm not as overstimulated by stuff either now. Like
yeah.
I for a minute, it was not hard to trigger me at all. But
Yeah.
I feel like some of that, but I think that's with intention. I've done a lot of like, for instance, I prioritize the sleep because I know that's number one for your nervous system. I do my best.
Yes.
I don't think I ever get a super duper deep, deep sleep anymore, but it's enough to get me by. You know what I mean? And so I prioritize that. And though I'm drinking coffee right now, I limit my caffeine. I used to
Yeah.
be like if I wanted it, I had it. Damn the consequences. I do, I'm really careful about all that because I know how hyper vigilant I am right now.
Yeah.
But this, man, I am, I'm not as paralyzed by the fear. I will say that. Like, I'm able to talk myself through it where at first, hysteria every time, like, because I was
Mm,
convinced. It wasn't like I'm so scared. It was, this has happened. It's happened for sure.
yeah.
Everybody's dead. And now
Yeah.
it's more like, oh, let's calm down a little bit.
Mm. And I find that routine and rituals are so important, and that's because what it is that you just don't feel safe in the world anymore. So those routines, so I
Right.
get up, I have breakfast. Sometimes, when I'm working, I'm terrible and I don't do, but when I'm at
Me
home,
too.
I try
Yeah.
and actually sometimes have breakfast in bed, like actually make it a really nice, I call it romancing myself at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
Have breakfast in bed and sometimes I'll have like salmon on toast with cream cheese, like
Oh, that
something
sounds
decadent. And
amazing.
I know, and it's just a really special time that I can take time with the day, have a coffee. I only have one coffee. I'm like you. I used to drink it. Now it's not worth it, but I still love it enough to have one. Um,
Yeah.
and then, and through the day I do for different things, but at the night time I always have a bath. I put bubble bath in it. I don't know. I feel like a child when I'm doing it and I love it.
Oh, that
Um,
sounds amazing.
yeah, and so I have, and like I light a candle at night for Kalia. I turn off the TV. I write to Kalia. I read. Like I just have all these things to try and keep my world safe, and that's what I
Yeah.
have to do for myself. And part of keeping my world safe, and I'm getting better, but I don't like to go into big crowds of people. Sometimes I do, and that's okay. It's just about like I can have a plan to do it. And if I can't do it that day, I give myself permission to not do it, or I give myself permission
Yes.
to leave.
Yes.
Yeah, because And then sometimes I surprise myself. Like my eldest son had, he plays in a band with like heavy metal music. It's not called
Oh,
heavy metal. It's like the harder version, but I only know heavy metal. So, and I went there and it was so loud, like you couldn't talk, and I loved it. It was really outside my comfort zone, so noisy. I thought it would trigger me, but I loved it and it was great. So it's also giving myself permission that when something feels good to keep going and not to overanalyze it. But it,
yes.
I do think it's that feeling of safety, and when you don't feel safe, um, things go haywire. So I do whatever I can to make myself feel safe, and you're the only person that can do it. Yeah.
Yes. And I talk to myself a lot about my
Oh,
safety
yeah.
and remind
Yeah.
myself I'm safe.
Yes.
Um, but man, and you're right. I mean, while I do have some rituals and I love to romanticize things, that's been the thing that I mean, intentionally
Yeah.
some just whimsical. I've been doing, just really like feeling just like silly and I love to do that stuff. I don't know that I've put an intention of safety around some of those things.
Mm,
So I think that's really good advice because
yeah.
yeah, I can see now why doing some of that has felt so good, and not just because it's good for you, uh, but yeah, I think being cognizant of the fact that I am creating safety with these things
Mm,
could
mm,
help to program my nervous system a little bit to be like, see, and this is fine. And I have been doing some things out of my comfort zone. Like I got invited to go to an NBA game one night and I had about 7 no's right off the bat, like of why I couldn't do it, even though I really wanted to go bad.
mm,
But I was like, no, but I really do want to go. I want to try having to rearrange a few things and, just like kind of like push my distress tolerance a little bit because I knew that I was going to have a good time. I knew ultimately it was going to be fun. So I'm trying to push that tolerance just a little bit. But then like
mm.
last night, now granted, I have PMS and I'm going to start any day now and we have a full moon coming. So I'm well aware of
Nice.
that. So I'm not paying too much attention, but last night was fucking horrid because
Mm,
my daughter had a choir concert at the high school that Jake used to go to.
yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
been back to that high school since this happened, and I was like, "Am I feeling this weight because I'm so cognizant?" Like, I asked myself this, like, "Am I
Mm,
manufacturing how sad I feel right now because I'm like, oh, it's the high school and I mean I have been to that high school so many times driving him there,
yeah.
picking him up because he got fucking suspended because he had drugs on. Like that high school has so much trauma for me. Um,
Mm,
but also I knew I had PMS. I also know a full moon's coming, but I was so sad. I cried through the whole
mm,
thing, but I was
mm.
also so fucking agitated
Yeah.
because she's in intermediate school, but they had middle school choir there too. And the middle school girls were being very theatrical and it was annoying the shit out of me. And people's kids crying was making me
Yeah.
feel violent. Like I needed to get up and walk out, but I was like, at the chance that she's going to see that happened, I can't do that. And I can probably just make it an hour. The second it was over, I went to the car. The second I was like,
Mm,
"Okay, you grab her and meet me in the car," which I knew would make her sad, but it's like, man. And then I'm really dreading this, Saturday. She has a band concert at the same damn place, and the last
mm,
family outing that we had was at her, like, fall band concert. So I'm, like, already
mm.
dreading it, which I hate pre-dreading stuff because like that, you don't know how it's going to hit you when you're there or whatever, but my in-laws are going to be there and they were at the last one and I don't feel safe to be emotional around them, and
Mm,
the night ended horribly because the boys got into an argument with each other in the car and there's just so much emotion
mm.
around that and I'm like dreading it so bad. So hopefully I'll start my period before then because it just like,
I
I'm
think,
like, I didn't expect it to be this hard to go to the damn high
yeah.
school, you know?
And I think that it's so, when I hear words safety and things like that, it sort of sounds a bit melodramatic. I wish there was a different word for it, but it really is what it is. And it's about, when you have to be in those times, and we do all have to do things we don't like and we'd rather avoid, but sometimes we have to, whether it's, like in your case with your daughter, so important. But it's how do
Right.
we create things that will allow us to feel safe. And one of them is to be able to walk out. One of them is to be able to, just to have an out, because sometimes you feel so stuck. Like, yeah, you're there.
Yes.
Like you said, you're just like, I just need to get through this hour. And like, amazing that you managed to do that. Like, that is
Uh,
incredible. Absolutely
it was no
incredible.
easy feat, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I was
And
like, what are we doing? Because, I
yeah,
mean, the level of agitation,
yeah,
I mean, I haven't felt like that in a long time, where I
yeah.
was, and then I started to judge myself, and then I was like, don't judge yourself. Like, it's okay that you hate everyone in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely allowed. And those things can be irritating at the best of times.
Right, right,
But
right.
yeah, and it is hard, those sort of, like you said, dreading things coming up too, because that's so hard and you feel like you're preempting. And sometimes it's sort of giving yourself permission that if it is bad, what am I going to do? If it is good, what am I going to do? Because it can go different ways. Again, it's
Yeah.
that unknown, and the unknown is what makes you feel unsafe. So being
Oh,
able to
you're
put
probably exactly right.
being able to put some things in that just protect you. I have it quite regularly with where I work. So Carlia and I, really close, spoke on the phone. She worked around the corner from me as well. So we would often go and catch up and go for a walk. And so I often have to walk past the point that we met. Most days. And some days I'm fine with it. Some days, like, I'll just start crying. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
and I do often have the, oh God, here I am walking past this, that preemption, but it changes all the time. So it is hard. You can't avoid everything. You have to do it. The same with going to, supermarket's always a hard one that people talk about and that I found hard. Your local supermarket that had so many memories and things like that. So hard,
Yes.
but you have to do it. And sometimes it's hard and sometimes it's not. Like, I think for me, that's the hard thing. Like, if I knew how I was going to react, if I knew what was going to happen each time, that would take away the sense of the unknown as well. But it's just that
Right.
unknown all the time. I don't know how I'll react. I don't know how grief will show up. I don't know how people around me will expect me to be. Um,
Right.
they're grieving as well. So and especially in-laws and people like that are just sort of different relationships and things like
Right.
that. Yeah, different thing. You don't know what they're going through. You feed off that. That hypersensitivity and hypervigilant. You're watching the cues all the time. Yeah, and you're on
Right.
alert. Yeah,
Right.
you're complete because
No,
you
you're
don't
so
know.
right. And
Mm,
I'm thinking maybe dread is a pre-decision that it will be awful just to feel some control and feel
yeah,
like you know.
yeah.
Because I'm thinking back to his birthday, and I was dreading it, and then once we got a really fun plan in place, I stopped dreading it, and I actually looked forward to it because it was gonna be this
Mhm.
really loving community of people, and I was
Yeah.
excited because I don't get to, like, be in a whole group of people who are grieving him like this very often, you know? And it's, like, the most free I can feel when I'm around people who are gonna let me just be, but I also know they know missing him. Maybe they don't know my feeling, but they miss him, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
comfort in that. So I was actually really excited, and the day went beautiful, and
Mhm.
I tried really hard not to dread Easter. And once I came up with what I was gonna do for his Easter basket, which was put dog toys in it, I was like, okay, and when I was there, he loved mushrooms. And when I was there was a little Easter bunny mushroom. And I was like, oh, and he's leaving me a sign. Like, so then I didn't dread it. But I think when I can get a little excitement, that can replace the
Mhm.
dread because there's the known in the excitement. because I know I'm visualizing. So my body's like, oh, I know, happy. But
Mm.
I think that's how I can, because I didn't really know how to, for lack of a better phrase, talk myself out of dread, how to come down from that
Yeah.
without just completely avoiding. But I think I can remind myself, hey, you're just looking for control. You're looking to know the outcome. And so
Yeah.
if you decide beforehand it's going to be awful, then you can know the outcome. But we don't know. We're going to just go into this day and this experience, understanding that we may need a plan, a backup plan for what's going to
Mm.
happen. And
Yep.
then, like, I know that my son wants to go to lunch afterwards, and I think now I'm just, like, understanding I probably need to prepare that there's a chance I won't be able to.
Yeah, yeah, and just give yourself an out. You don't need to explain it. It just is. It's interesting, and there's two ways that you can look at it. And sometimes you do go and it is awful. Like we
Yeah.
can't, and
Yeah.
just to be prepared for that. Like I said, Carl's died 2 years ago, and the lead up to her death, I didn't expect it to happen to me. I was thinking about the day, but the lead up actually hit me for, like I took time off work, and for 4 days I was in two places, either on the couch or in my bed. And that's all I did for 4 days. And in the past, I probably would have beat myself up about that and sort of thought, you've got to get through this. But I actually gave myself the time. I watched so much TV, it was ridiculous. And I don't watch a huge amount of TV. I watched Daisy Jones and the Six, like this is incredible, the whole thing in one day. It was really cathartic for me, and actually to let myself have that permission. And actually, when I got to her death day, I felt better. I actually went out for lunch and, and we actually had a nice day. So it was really interesting. I think that I needed that lead up, that hibernation, that sort
Yes.
of
I
really
think
just
taking
sitting
care of
in it.
yourself before
Yeah,
allowed,
yeah,
because, I mean, imagine if you had just, like, worked, and then
yeah,
there's the day, and this is
yes,
the
yeah.
only day that you get to feel all the feelings.
But the other thing is, it wasn't a decision. Oh, sorry, it wasn't a decision for me. My body just stopped. Like it was just, no, this is not, I couldn't hold conversations. I mean, I talk all the time. I talk to people. I just couldn't do it. Like I had a complete shutdown. And,
Wow.
yeah, so our body holds wisdom as well. Like, and I'm
Yes.
feeling fine again now. And I feel, like I think it was a cathartic release that I really, really needed. And yeah, so there is that absolute wisdom in our body knowing what is best for us and what we need.
Yeah.
And I didn't override it. Like I gave myself, I think it's so powerful to give yourself the permission to not think that you're doing anything wrong or bad. So
Oh, I 100%
yeah, so
agree.
things
So
can
are you
go
saying
well
you
or
hadn't,
not.
like, pre-planned to take those days off? You just, like, oh, you were, like, calling in because you were like, "It's not happening." Wow. Thank you for sharing that, because
Mm.
I do know our bodies react very strongly leading up to anniversaries. But that's actually really good to know, because I just, the more I can know that's normal and to kind of expect, I feel like is so helpful for me. I was a little surprised on Sunday. We gave his old, well, not old, it's what he used, his PlayStation to my daughter. She had been begging, and
Oh.
I was tired of it, and I felt him say, like, just let her have it. Like, and I was like, fine. So I gave it to her, and I cried all day.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had had plans to get some stuff done, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna beat myself up because there are no plans happening right now. Like, I was exhausted. I mean, I haven't felt that level of exhaustion aside from the damn day before and the physical shit of going outside for too many hours. But, like, it felt different even than that. Like, I was like, "Oh my god." And it's not like I was, like, bawling all day. I was just crying off and on because I wanted to be very intentional about, like, honoring that moment. It was a big deal. I was giving one of his very valued possessions away.
And
And so
that means he's not coming back. Yeah.
right, it was so
Yeah.
hard, like, because I
Yeah.
kept it in the place that he had it, and
Yeah.
he turned it on to play it that night, so it very much encapsulated a moment where
Mm.
he was still here, and I mean, I would have left it there forever probably, but she really wanted it, and my other son, it didn't bother him at all, and so I was like, "Well, let me think about it," and they had brought it up right after he died, and I knew then, I was like, "I'm not ready." But, yeah, that was what made it really hard, was like, ugh, because he's not gonna use it, and so
Mm.
I cried all day, not even as hard as I'm crying right now. I told you I have PMS, why do I keep talking to you when I have PMS? God.
You're allowed to
But
cry. Crying is fine.
I know, but it's just so weird how it just hits out of like, because
Oh, I
this
know.
really
Yeah.
doesn't happen that much, like, to
No.
where it's
I
uncontrollable like
My
this.
crying's often in the car, so I'll be driving and I just start crying, and I cry when I'm walking. I cry all the time. It's part of my normal now, and I would say, on average, I would still cry almost every day. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it's not just emotion again, I think it's release and it's just, a build up and it's just what it is. Like I cry
Yeah.
we judge crying a bit too much, but it's a release and it's got I don't know what it's got benefits I think in there, I
So
think you get
many, so
endorphins and
many.
things when you cry so crying is fine. Yeah,
I
and
sleep better
and
after I
talk
cry too.
yeah. Oh, don't we all? Yeah. And that's the thing. And I think that because we live in a world that's a little bit uncomfortable with crying or uncomfortable with feelings, we we stop it. And but I've learned that I am not uncomfortable with if people can cry around me because I think it is a release and it's so
Yeah,
important and it's not uncomfortable. I don't get uncomfortable when people like burst into fits of laughter around me. Why would I feel uncomfortable when people cry? I don't know. I
yeah,
think it's maybe that we want to fix so much or maybe yeah or just we're just not very good at sitting in uncomfortable emotions but
yeah.
crying is not uncomfortable to me. Yeah, I think it's
Well, and
such
it's
a
weird because PMS is almost the only time I get this level of release anymore.
yeah,
Because, I
yeah,
mean, I don't purposely avoid at all, and I work really hard to be connected and present all the time, but my brain, and I will take this gift, it protects me from this so much, like, it really
yeah.
does, and I was thinking about this just yesterday. If I hadn't set my life up to be taking care of me in this way even before,
Yeah,
I wouldn't be doing as well as I am. But
yeah, I
I
agree.
have a slow life. I don't have to work outside of my home. I don't have to talk to people I don't want to talk to. I love my work. I love this podcast gives me life. I get to have conversations that make me feel really good. So I mean that's why. Like I would never want anyone to feel like because I'm saying I'm doing pretty well for somebody who just lost their child 4 months ago, that I'm judging anyone else because I'm not, and I know what life would look like if I still had a job that was very taxing. Well, I would have had to have quit it. I couldn't have stayed there. If I can't do
Mm,
anything I don't wanna do now.
mm,
If it's like a dread thing, like, oh, like, I mean, cutting clients that I just didn't feel that super close connection with, I had
mm.
to because I couldn't
Yeah.
be beneficial to them because the weight of knowing the appointment was coming up was, like, ruining the whole day. Just knowing that I had to talk to somebody I didn't wanna talk to ruined the whole day. So I just know, like, how to I've set my life up in a way that's really conducive
Mm.
for
I
this exact
yeah.
thing. But most of the time, and I think that it is because I do things that I love so much so often, but most of the time, there is still this weird little disconnect from this entire event that there's it's the veil of that gets removed when I'm hormonal. Like, I'm
Mhm.
much closer to it. I feel it in a totally different way. But at this point, I welcome it because then I do cry more and I know that my body needs that. Like, crying is a very normal part of grief and I don't mind it, but it's not there all the time and I never know when it's going to happen. So, but I
Yeah.
like
I
welcome PMS now because
yeah.
at least I get a little bit like I feel closer to him a little bit because there's just this weird I'll never be able to explain to anyone this disconnect that I feel most of the
Mhm.
time, but I'm also not
I
gonna
think
complain about it.
Yeah, I think that's so fascinating because we sort of ignore how we are as women and we have hormones that change all the time. And there's a reason that we have them. I mean, you think about PMS and your links to motherhood and what your body's going, like it sort of makes sense. And it's the same with grief. Like
Yeah.
PMS isn't just that you get your period once a month and that's the end of it. We as a society treat it like that. But the
Yep.
same is with grief, and we've got hormones and brain function and stuff that happen, we treat grief as simply an emotion, which we know it's not.
Yeah.
It's a full body experience. So isn't it
Yes.
interesting that those two marry up? We sort of try and just make everyone behave as if we're a little bit robotic, and we're not. I mean, I'm going through perimenopause, which is hideous. Um,
Yeah.
and I think, God, why am I grieving in perimenopause? And with perimenopause, it's interesting because that's changed everything as well. Like things that not only have I lost tolerance for people in grief, but also in perimenopause, that's something that
Yes.
happens as well. So it's sort of twofold happening. And I can't ignore that these things are happening at the same time for me. And
Mhm.
I just, there's been a lot of work done about men and women in the workplace and the fact that perimenopause and menopause and PMS actually inhibits women's function or abilities and things like that, and it needs to be addressed. And I fully agree with it because we're not
Mhm.
the same. And hormones are there for a reason. There's something there for a reason. So it doesn't surprise me that that's that time that you have that release in your body. And what an amazing body we have that, it
Yes.
enables that to happen. So it's so fascinating. We're not just sort of robotic shells. We have so many layers and things that are going on
Yes.
all the time, and we can't control them. Like you can't think your way through grief. You
Mhm.
can't, just move on. Like we should be able to have a day sometimes in PMS where you're just in bed because that's all you want to be able to do. You're supposed to hibernate and look after yourself. But
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. No, that's so
Mm,
real. Like, actually, before I had an external camera and a mic, during those days and on my period, I recorded from my bed. I just
mm,
I've
mm.
gotten I mean, again, I'm not old, but, like, I'm not in my 20s, so periods hit me.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the exhaustion is insurmountable. There's no forcing anything, and so you're right, the parallels between periods and grief are wild because
Mm,
it's like your period symptoms are worse because of grief, and your grief
yeah,
symptoms are worse because your period. But
yeah.
yeah, and I love that you said it's our connection to motherhood because I don't really think about that as often as I used to. But I think it will make me welcome it even more. Cause listen, I'm a person who's like, bring the periods on. I'm not looking forward to menopause at all because I'm very sensitive to hormonal shifts and I do not want to be without the hormones. Or maybe I do. I don't know what it's going to be for me, but I do know every month when I ovulate, the whole next 2 weeks are a little rough. I feel the estrogen spike. I feel all of it. So
Mm,
I'm nervous. And so every month I'm like, thank you, period, for being here because I do not want menopause. I sure don't. And I mean,
no,
doctors have said I was in perimenopause for years. I'm like, how do you even know that? Like, I'm sure I am, but like, what do they don't even do enough work. There was no labs drawn to say that. They're just like, it's probably
no,
perimenopause. So it's like, no one's even trying to help you through it. They're just like, oh, that's just
no.
being a woman. There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. But yeah, and it makes me feel like, because I do feel closer to him when I'm hormonal, because there's
Mm,
nothing, that protective layer's gone. So I'm
mm,
more open to signs from him. I'm open
mm,
to
mm.
energies in general, because the protective shit's gone. And it's not a
Yeah.
protective layer I'm putting in there on purpose. It
No.
just is happening. So I kind of welcome it, but now I feel even more like, yeah, like looking forward to PMS.
I know, and because we constantly, as women, we constantly change and shift with each week of the month, and it's
Yes.
it's part of getting to know yourself. And again, if we revert back to that safety, like even PMS and things like that, having rituals and things like that around it, and knowing where you are,
Yeah.
and feeling some form of just giving yourself that self care, that self protection is something that we don't do. And I've never done it most of my life. You just sort of think, okay, it's that time of the month. I'm going to feel a bit shit for a few days, but I'll still truck on, and I'll still go to work, and I'll still do everything. I'll pretend it's not there. But then you're exhausted because
Yes.
we're trying to override our own nature and our own body because of what the society tells us. But it's really crazy.
Yeah, it really
It's really
is. It really
crazy.
is. You
Mm.
know what I said not too long ago? I was talking to someone and I was like, "So religion tells us that our period is a punishment. But what if women received a period because what was supposed to happen is like the village comes together and
Yeah.
like lifts up the woman, and like the family bands together. Like what if it was supposed to be an experience that brought people together and not
Well,
one that set us
yeah.
apart?"
Well, there's different traditions and things like that. And, back in the, older traditions, the older sort of indigenous people, the woman used to go off together when they had their periods and completely removed. So they didn't do any work or any jobs and things like that. They sort of went off in this wee camp together and just self care and self healing. It was also seen as a time of power for women. So, that where they were in there, like you said, when you feel closer to your son over that time, and it was supposed to be in those sort of more traditional cultures, a time of power, a time where they could commune with the universe and those around them. So that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So depending on your
Oh,
sort of
that's
thoughts
cool.
about those things. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe in that stuff. I'm
Yeah.
super woo-woo, so that I'm gonna have to look up stuff about this. That's
Yeah.
actually really interesting, and it kind of validates what I was feeling, like, where I was like, "That's
Mm.
so weird." I see him more clearly, I feel him, like, all the things, and the other 2 weeks of the month, it's like it's always there, but I have to
Mm.
be very intentional to feel it if like, except in the quiet moments or whatever, but in the day-to-day normal operations, I could cry easily, but it's not like weeping. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Mm. Mm.
So,
Absolutely.
but like
And that's the
PMS,
thing.
it's
Yeah.
weepy.
Yeah, and I mean, your body does protect yourself. I was really, I don't think when I had those times, but just before Kalia died, my body reacted how it reacted when Kalia died. So how my body reacted was that, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and stuff, and, I would be super sad and, feel devastated. And then I'd go completely numb. And this happened to me over these 4 days as well. I would be sad and overwhelmed, and then I would go numb. And so the afternoons I quite liked. I was a bit like a robot. That's why I watched so much TV. I couldn't even tell you
Yeah,
half the things I watched because I was really in this numb space. But that's
yeah,
so fascinating how your body does I mean, again, your body is so wise. It does what we need it to do. So early in grief, I sort of beat myself up because we do. Like, did I love Carlia enough because I'm not sad enough? All those silly
right,
things which are
right,
ludicrous that I even thought. But you're so hard on yourself. So anything that we do, we're not in control of. And yes, sometimes I did want to be sad all the time, and I wasn't because I was numb. But then other times I loved the numb times because I could pretend it didn't happen. I could live the she was just away for a few days. And there's nothing wrong in any of it.
Right.
However we get through, there is no wrong way to do it. There's just how your body is doing it and how your mind is doing it, and we can't override it. Like, I got really into that thought space of, I needed to think positively and I needed to do this and this and this. And that has a place, don't get me wrong. Those are really
Right.
important. But it's when you're trying to override what you're already doing and you place blame on yourself that it's
Yeah.
bad. So I'd be like, I still can't practice gratitude. I used to practice gratitude before Kalia died, but I still sit in this thought that I'm not really grateful for the world because my daughter's not here. It doesn't mean I'm not appreciative of things around me. I just, I can appreciate my children and my partner and my job. And, I've got amazing things that I am so grateful for. This grief work, having these conversations, so grateful, but I'm not sitting there in that I'm grateful for my life.
Right.
As a whole thing, it's something I struggle with. And I could sit there and go through the process and make myself feel that way. I could absolutely do that. But then I'm not being authentic to myself and it's not
Right.
healing. Yeah. So it's about knowing those where it's authentic and healing to you or when it's not. So again, it's sort of getting to know yourself in that way. And I'm not saying I'll always feel like this, but for me, it's a
Sure.
boundary. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I have a philosophy that resistance keeps us stuck. But in the early days, and I think I told you this the last time, but I was kind of, I wouldn't even say judging, I was in fear about when this disconnect first kind of jumped in, because it wasn't there at first. Obviously,
Mm,
there was so much pain at first. And then one day I could get through the day without it being as painful. And I knew not to judge that, so I didn't. But as the grief was shifting, it was so bizarre, and I was so scared that I was in denial, or that, like, I was just that am I avoiding? Have I been avoiding? Like, I'm trying so hard not to avoid.
mm.
And I literally had to just come to a place that said, your nervous system hit its capacity,
Yeah.
and now it's trickling in what you can handle. It's
Yeah.
learned when your shut off valve
Yeah.
is, and just go with the flow. Go with the flow. And on the days where it's really fucking heavy and hard, let it be really heavy and hard. And
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
days where it's not as heavy, let it be not as heavy. We don't have to analyze it. We don't have to pathologize it. Nothing. Like, just let it be. It will be what it's going to be regardless. You're
Yeah.
just going to make it worse by being like, I shouldn't be having such a good day. So I've been
And
like
I
really cognizant of that.
And I really love that you added in the denial word because I think, we get stuck in the stages of grief that we know that there are no
Right.
stages of grief. But those words have become so negative. And
Yes.
denial, yes, we all go into denial, but there's nothing wrong with that. And also, but because we get so scared that we're stuck in a stage or we're not
Yes.
moving or we're doing a disservice, that feelings, like you said, it's your nervous system protecting you and so you talk about disconnect and I talk about numbness, and I wonder if they're the same thing. Yeah. But anyway,
Yeah,
and
I
just
think
different
so.
language. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
we do feel things in different ways, but for me, for listening to what you're saying, it feels like the same thing. And yeah, and there's that feeling of the disconnect or the numbness, that there's something wrong with you,
Hmm.
because you're not feeling everything. But how can you possibly feel everything? The world
Right.
is turned upside down. We're only
Right.
human. There's like people that die from a broken heart. Have you heard it? They can literally,
Yes.
we have cordon tendineae in the heart that breaks and the strings break and you can have a heart attack. And that is from grief and from trauma alone. So our body does protect us. It does protect. It wants to survive. Like, that's what our body is doing for us, is helping us survive. So it's a thankful thing. Like our body is doing us such an incredible
Yeah.
service, but it's our mind that sits there and goes, oh, there's something wrong with me. I'm not feeling
I
enough
really
light for
did think
me.
something was wrong at first. I
Yeah,
was like,
God, me too.
well,
Yeah.
because it was also so sudden. But I think it's like how you said the numbness will come after, like, a good cry and whatever. Same. And I think it's just like that's why I'm so tired, because like I
Mm,
cry and then it's like
yeah. Yeah.
everything released, but so did all my energy and so did all my emotion. And so like I feel kind of robotic during
Yeah.
that time,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
feel fragile too. Like, okay, I need to go get in a cocoon now and just
Yeah.
wrap up for a little bit and be alone. And then let's hope for tomorrow being a better day. But yeah, at first it really did scare me. And I think there was a small part of me that felt fear of judgment from others.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and
You know what
everyone's
I
so
mean?
judgy. I mean, everyone is
Yeah,
judgy. We're judgy. Like, I mean, I'm not, I'm a lot less judgmental than I ever used to be, probably because I've been through this. I'm really
yeah.
cautious that we go through our own journey. And you know what? I just don't care what other people do anymore. I don't know if
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a perimenopausal thing, an age thing, or a grief thing. I couldn't say at this
Probably
stage.
all of the above.
Yeah. But you do but there is so much judgment on those of us who are grieving. And like I said, I struggled early on. I still struggle now with, people, because we're so hyper vigilant, we feel the energy. It's not a
Uh-huh.
delusion. It's not that we're being paranoid. It's a real thing. I mean, I overheard someone saying that, is she not over it yet? So I know those conversations happen around me.
Mhm.
And early on, I think the problem early on, you feel so chaotic, your world's fallen apart. You know that people are thinking things like, oh, she's happy today. Oh, she's over it. Oh, she's too happy.
Yeah.
Why is she so happy? Why is she so sad? Why is she crying so much? She needs to move on. All those things. And we know there's happening, and then we internalize it. Like that's
Yes.
when the problem happens. And that's natural. I think that that's just how we are. And that's where it becomes about that self-care and allowing these things to happen. And the other thing is how I sort of forgive, for want of a better word, or understand. People aren't malicious. They're just a bit selfish, including
Mhm.
myself. And the selfishness is we're uncomfortable with people being uncomfortable. We want people to be okay. And when people are okay, we feel okay. When we're
Mhm.
sitting here as mothers who have lost their children, that's everyone's worst fear, or one of their
Everyone's, yep.
worst fears. So it's we when we're not doing okay, it scares them. And it's just how it's reacting in their body. I honestly think that people aren't malicious. They're not cruel. They're not
I
intending
agree.
to hurt. It's just their own fears coming out, and that they want us to be okay at some strange level of care and love as well.
Yeah.
Not that it's okay, and not that we should, like I will push back if I hear something, or I will
Right.
try and educate. But I think for me, if I can come from the understanding that they're not being cruel, I can handle it
Right. Well,
more.
and if I
Yeah.
say, what if that didn't have anything to do with me? What, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? And that's where I've
exactly.
really tried to be.
Exactly.
And, I know that the last time I talked to you, I was talking about how raw I felt, and all of the comments, like anything trying to comfort me, anything like at all was not good. Like, everything pissed me off and hurt my feelings and whatever. I was recognizing that it was a me thing, but still it was like, and I can know that, and still it's upsetting. So
Yeah.
that I feel less fragile in that way. In the last few weeks, I feel a lot less fragile around those things, but I think it's because I allowed it, because I said I can get upset and I can
Yeah.
say something.
Yes.
And I have gotten to, like, I said a few things, like, you know, I when everyone was, making assumptions about how I felt about doing the news stories and stuff, I started to say, like, actually, it wasn't hard for me to do that
Mm,
because I talk about him every day. Like, it's not hard for me to do a quick little news
yeah,
interview about
yeah,
him. Like, that's
yeah.
fine. But saying that, I felt empowered again. I didn't feel like I had to just
Yes.
take on what everybody was saying and just because I understood it was well-meaning, like, it was pissing me off and I want to say something, so I've started to say it, and that taking back my power in both allowing myself to feel it, but also
Mm,
just gently saying it, because used to, I was an internalizer, and the only time I would say something is when I was triggered and it came out in a really shitty way, and
yeah,
so seeing that I'm capable of saying things in a nice, calm manner, maybe
yeah,
not perfect, but maybe not super concerned if it bothers you, but making sure that, I'm being respectful. I think seeing that I'm capable of that really empowered me. And so
yeah.
boom, all of a sudden, I just feel there are times I still am going to say something educational in response to
Mm,
something you said if it hits a nerve, but
yeah.
I don't feel like I'm imploding from other people talking to me now. So
Yeah,
that's
and
been
'cause
really, really nice.
and I think that that's so important. So what you've done is not internalize it, actually put it back on them, which is great because that educates as well. But it's also great because you haven't internalized it, you haven't brought that to yourself. Then you haven't, because when we internalize it, like you said, you feel it all, you put it back on yourself, it comes out, and then
Yeah.
it explodes out. Which I mean, we all do. So if anyone does that, it
Sure, no
happens.
judgment
We're
there
not
either. I mean,
perfect.
and
Yeah,
actually, that
but
is gonna happen
yeah.
sometimes anyway. I mean,
But
it's gonna
yeah,
happen.
but if we can stop that internalizing, because it's a lot of other people's feelings. Like, and Kalia died from suicide, so I get a lot of that judgment of why didn't I stop her and all that things. I mean, one, I'm not a miracle maker, and if I could have stopped her, I absolutely would have. But
Right.
yeah, and it's those sorts of things. I refuse to take those things on board, but at the beginning, absolutely, I felt very. I took it on board, I internalized it a lot, and that really didn't help me, and it really weighed on me. So it's you've got to be able to separate those things somehow. I don't know how to do it. I've got no wisdom in doing that, and it's just probably time and being
Yeah.
aware. Maybe
Well,
it's
I
just
think
being
hearing
aware.
conversations
Yeah,
like this, where we give
yeah,
you a little bit of a different perspective of
mm,
like, I do believe humans at our core are good, and I
yeah,
believe
yeah,
that I know for a fact if I have kept you in my energy for long enough for you to even interact with me about this, that I view you as good. And so
mm,
you making
mm,
this mistake doesn't make you not good. It makes you human too. And so I think you're right. I think people are so uncomfortable. The thing that has irritated my spirit the very most is the well-meaning, very flowery, saying the exact perfect things. Like, I'd rather you just get into an actual conversation with me, not talk at me with no ability to respond because you said everything you wanted to say, and that's supposed to comfort me, and then you get to back out because you
yeah,
sent this really nice message. I'm not comforted by that. I don't mean that rude. I feel shut off. Like, I feel a shut
mm,
off
yeah,
valve where it's like what I hear is you're not comfortable actually sitting in this with me. I'm not mad at you for
yeah.
that, but it's irritating. It irritates my spirit. And
Yeah.
it makes me more grateful for
Platitudes
the
do
people who are
nothing.
willing to. Yeah.
Yeah. And platitude, I mean, and we all do it. I do it myself.
I do it too.
When
I
you,
do it
yeah,
too.
when you say something and you say, but what I say is because we're wired and it's just something that's in us. We hear these, like, I'm so sorry for your loss. I mean, what does that mean?
I
But, and
know.
we say that, but what you can do is if you're in that place as a supporter, just say, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. What I mean is, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I miss this person too. How do you, do you want to talk to me about it? Tell me more, and guide the conversation because I'm so sorry for your loss cuts the conversation off because all it does is, what do I say back to that? I'm quite
Or
funny though.
even
When people
telling
say,
me
I'm
how
so sorry
strong
for
I
your,
am,
Yeah.
you're so all complimenting.
Yeah.
I love you so
Yeah.
much. Thinking about you. Oh, it's not that I find that mean. I think that's very sweet of
No.
you, but I'm also very cognizant that you had a need there that you just filled. That wasn't about
Yeah.
me. You
No.
wanted to
And
feel like you could help me in a way that was comfortable for you. And again, I'm not mad at it. I'm really not. I'll
no.
heart the message and go on because you didn't want me to respond to it, or you wouldn't have made it such a close-ended thing of like, I'm just thinking,
Yes.
if I get I'm thinking about you message, that's sweet and I will heart it, but that's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
I mean, it helps because if you're thinking about me and my loss, then you're thinking about Jake. And I like that. I like that he is still being thought of. So yes, that in some ways I will take that in the way in which you intended. But most of it is just like, well, that's sweet, but that's not a conversation. And the
Yes.
connection is the part I crave. Like
Yeah.
getting to talk
Yeah.
about the
And
thing that will make you wildly uncomfortable. That's what
yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
do.
And that's what we all need. And that goes back to the only way to support is to be with someone and sit in the uncomfortable. But you're right.
Mhm.
People want to support, don't know what to say a platitude. And the problem with platitudes is they're closed ended. You have no response. Like I said, someone says, I'm so sorry for your loss. What do I say back to it? Like,
I
yeah, I'm
literally am
sorry
like,
too.
thank
What do you
you.
want me to say? Yeah.
Right, right. At first, I would
Um,
just be like, "I know. I know."
so it's,
'Cause 'cause I was like, "I got nothing to give to anybody else, so, like, I can't
no.
make you feel good. I can't let you know that I
Yeah.
feel supported by you, nothing like, I know. We're all sorry. Yep. Okay. Let's get to the
But
next
where
I'm
I
sorry."
would yeah, and where I would challenge supporters is if you say that, fine. Don't stop there. So it's okay to say, I'm so sorry for your loss and continue the conversation. It's not even the words that upset. Well, for me, I mean, I'm only talking about
Right.
me. For
No, I
me,
have
it's
to
not the
agree with that.
words that upset. It's the full stop and the nothing else. That's
It's the
what
full
I
stop.
find hard. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what I had to discover. That's what
Yeah.
was getting me so upset was in this time where no matter what anybody could have done, I was going to feel isolated and alone no matter what
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
this is my loss and it's
Yes.
going to be unlike anyone else grieving him. I'm not going to
Yeah.
say worse. I'm saying it's mine. And so nobody
Yes.
else can know how I feel. So I'm going to feel isolated in that. And so I was
Yes.
craving connection
Yeah.
and connections that felt safe, safe enough for me to cry, for me to just again say the weird shit. Like they're in the beginning, there's lots of weird shit to talk about, like funeral stuff,
Yeah.
like stuff that just makes people cringe. And I get that. I've been on the other end of it too, where I suffered through some real cringy shit to try to support
Mm.
somebody.
Yeah.
I know it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable and I get it. But that it was the fact that like because people have said beautiful, loving things, but it's the full stop. It's
Yeah.
not because you said something wrong. It's because you didn't invite me in. You were
Mm.
like, okay, I'm going to drop this in your lap and then back off. And I feel better. Do you feel better? And it was like,
Yeah.
no, because I want to talk. I just want to talk.
And I think that when people do that, I often feel that we want to do something actively, like we want to fix and or offer a
Yes.
platitude because we feel like we're imparting some wisdom. But in grief, we just need people to stay beside us and listen or sit in the silence. Like that's
Yeah.
powerful too. And people don't think of those things as actions, but they are actions. And I can't remember if I
Yes.
said it last time, but I had a wonderful friend who the best thing that he did for me, we've laughed about it since. I've got a strange sense of humor anyway, but with him, because we laugh about it, because he would take me for a walk, and I was like, "You're taking me for a walk like I was a dog," and he said yes, and so he'd take me for a walk. But I was like, I was doing really well in those early times, and he would like this was like recently. He laughed and he said, you said the same thing over and over and over again. We had the same conversation within the same time all the time. And I would sometimes just say the same thing back or say something different. But that was the support. He never made me feel at the time, oh, he never made me feel bad about it, but he never addressed it with me at the time. He just treated it as a normal conversation because that's what I needed. There was something going
Yes.
round and round that I needed to say over and over
Yes.
again. and I didn't realize it. We laugh about it now just because that's what our friendship is. He doesn't make me feel bad. But for me, it's interesting because I thought that I was doing better than I probably was in
Yeah,
certain
I can
situations.
relate to that.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is that need. Like, I remember I was cognizant of doing that
Mm,
because I needed like telling how we found him was really important. I know other people didn't love to hear the story, but anybody who let me sit with them and talk about it in those early days and talk about
mm,
all of the funeral process and how we made those choices and all of the weird inner dialogue, any of the weird shit I was allowed to say out loud, I said it over and over. Like
mm,
the first couple
mm,
of weeks, I was just repeating it all over and over and over. But I think like that's probably why I one of the pieces of the puzzle of why I've been so okay. You know what I mean?
mm,
And I actually
mm,
in a solo episode recently, the way I'm wording it now is I am okay. Like I was afraid to say that before because of
mm.
the judgment,
Of
right?
course
Well,
you're okay. Everyone's
judgment
okay
and
in grief.
also
Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm okay and you think that means I don't need support cuz I fucking do.
No. Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
I've learned to be like I am really okay. Like I'm doing a lot better than anybody would have expected, but I'm not fine. I'm not
No.
fine. There's a weight to
No.
this. There's
And you have
PTSD.
not healed and you have not moved
Right,
on.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not
Yeah.
fine. I'm okay. I'm doing okay.
Mm.
I'm pretty good
Yeah.
actually,
You're
but I'm
okay
not
today.
fine.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
fine. Exactly. And PTSD, when you have a traumatic loss, is so fucking real. I mean,
Mm.
I know I had some from losing my dad suddenly, but I didn't find his ass. And the whole
No.
thing is just like losing a child very suddenly. It's just it is the worst fear coming true.
Yeah.
Like just
I
like they're
yeah.
here 1 minute and then the next they're just
Yeah.
not.
I know. And it's just, yeah, not the scheme of the world. I really like that part that you talked about wanting to talk about his death. I don't know if that changes that much because I still talk about Kalia's death and it does make people very uncomfortable. But it was such a profound, traumatic time for me that I do still need to talk about it, but people don't like to. You know, they think that you're fixated on their death. But it is trauma and it is
And
hard
retelling your
and
trauma
you
is
do need to
important.
yeah, you need to process and understand. I mean, I'll tell you something ridiculous, and I still laugh at myself for feeling this. I only worked out the other day that Kalia was on life support. So she was on life support, and I'll tell you why I thought this. So she was on the life support on the last day of her life. And I in my head just had that they'd put her in a coma, not realizing that them putting her in a coma and life support was the same thing. But that's how my brain just wasn't working because
Oh,
one, I never actually realized that she would die. I was, for want of
oh,
denial or whatever was happening, or the fact that it's just
yeah.
how I am. I took her to the hospital and so she didn't die at home. She died in the hospital and she was on life support. And that time was really, I can't piece together. I was in a lot of shock. And so some of the talking about it is me piecing it together and making sense of what happened. And I never talked to her because I never thought that she was dying. And there were so many people around and so many things. So we never had a proper conversation.
Oh,
And
I
you
hate
know,
that for
yeah,
you.
yeah. So there was
Mm.
a lot that happened in that time that people get
Yeah, it's such a
very
short amount of
uncomfortable about.
time.
Yeah, and people get uncomfortable with me talking about, but it's still something that I haven't quite processed and haven't quite, and I may
Yeah.
never process or understand because
Right,
it's very
right,
hard. Hindsight, you think, why did I do that? Why did I? But we're only dealing with the information that we have at the time, obviously. So,
right.
it's interesting. It's interesting. So actually shutting people down and not letting them talk really does harm, you know, and if you're wanting to help someone, And you know what? You don't need to listen to everything. You can have boundaries. Like everyone needs
Sure.
boundaries, but just to listen to someone for 5, 10 minutes. I mean, I'm not saying for a whole day. I mean, we may have you
Right.
there for a whole day, but like it doesn't have to be huge and onerous. It's just
Yes.
being
I agree with
real.
that. And
Mm.
also check in with yourself for what you have the capacity for.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't send the message if you don't have a capacity for a back and forth for a bit. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
don't do it because I respect your capacity. Lord knows I'm not checking on a lot of folk. I know someone who lost her daughter in a similar manner recently, so I'm
Mm,
checking on her. I have the capacity for that. I don't have the capacity for other things right now. So
yeah,
I'm not doing a lot of checking on folks, but I don't reach out unless I can fully engage
yeah,
because,
yeah.
and I've been there. Again, this isn't coming from a place of judgment. I've been the human who reached out without
Mm,
capacity and then had to back out. I
yeah,
did. I
yeah.
didn't know. And it was with somebody who had lost a child, but I had not experienced it. I did not know that grief. You know what I mean?
But I love that, and I think that there's such a lesson in that. Only do it if you've got capacity, because what that comes down to is authenticity, and that's what we crave: connection and authenticity. I don't want someone reach. Sorry, my cats are all over me. I
I
don't
love it.
want someone. It's like when the people go, "Oh, how are you?" And you're like, "Do you really want to know? Are you actually
Yeah.
asking me, or do you want to fine?" And it does create something in you, and you're fragile and vulnerable, and you don't know who to trust. So to
Yes.
actually have someone that recognizes their own capacity. And like I said before, your capacity can be different things. It's actually having a boundary. Like, because we're in those grieving times, we understand that we're working through everything. We're working out our own boundaries. So if someone said to me, "Hey, what are you doing? I've got 10 minutes. Do you want to have a phone call?" I'd be like, "Yes." Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
have
That's a
to
great
be
boundary.
unending. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, just stating it up front, like, "Hey, I
Mm.
can't do, like, a 2-hour sitch right now, but, like, I care about you, I wanna check in, I want to actually hear,"
Yeah.
because my days are very different every day. Like, I
Mm.
like when people are like, "How are things going?" Because if something recent has happened, like the PlayStation situation, giving me
Mhm.
license to cry about that with you and tell you how I feel about it, and you not like try to even understand it, but just sit with
Mhm.
me for a minute
Mhm.
about it. That's great. Like, that's all I'm asking for is just a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Um, but just that's why it's important not to do it if you're not in earnest about
Mhm.
giving
Mm.
them the opportunity, because I refuse in this grief process to assign meaning to any of that shit the way I did when it was the other losses I've experienced. I very much keep it in their pocket and out of mine, like, well, they just weren't that's who they were today or whatever.
Mm.
I
Mm.
used to make it mean a lot about how people must feel about me if they're not showing up. And I think that's why it's gotten so much easier in the last few weeks, because I just don't think like that. I'm like, hey, they are showing what their capacity is. And also I hope to be able to educate people and model for them how to be a good support, like, and
Mm.
if I can stay, and it's okay if you don't, but for me, where I am at in my life and my process, if I can stay connected to love as much as possible and show up in that energy, not to reprimand, not to anything, but just to show you, like, I'm seeing your discomfort and I honor that. But here,
Mm.
I also see what your intent is. You wanna help. So if
Yeah.
you wanna help, just listen about how I say you can help. Like, this
Yeah.
is the way, and I know it doesn't feel like helping because you feel like shit afterwards because you sat with it. And then here's some ways to move through that. Like, if
Mm.
you're taking on someone else's pain to that extent after a 10-minute conversation, well, honey, that's some shit you gotta work on in
Yeah. Yeah.
yourself. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
'Cause I
Absolutely.
can feel 100% in a conversation, and when it's over, Imma go shake myself off like a dog. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna move that through me and move on.
And also that comes back to what we spoke about right at the beginning, is that self-care. So, supporters having that self-care and that protection themselves. That's not for the griever to monitor or to, like, don't place the onus on that. Like, if you feel shit at the end of the conversation, not the griever's fault. Don't make the griever feel bad. Don't even say that. But, what do you need to do yourself? And as grief is heavy and it is hard, and if there is a
It
hard
is.
conversation, but it's if you want to be a true person and help someone, that's what is helpful, but protect yourself. Have those things in place yourself that you need to do. How do
Yeah.
you shake that off? How do you not bring that internally to you? Like, we're sort of wrapping around a whole lot of concepts that we've talked about tonight. But the thing is that it's having a boundary, doing something, going for a walk afterwards, all those things that you can do to protect yourself, but don't put that onto the griever either, because I've had that when I've had conversations, and then, I've felt like, oh, this is wonderful. I've had a great conversation. Thank you. And then it's turned all about them and how they've felt about it. And then I'm sitting there
Yes.
consoling them, and
How sad
then
it
it's
made
not
them.
helpful. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that
And
one's been a source of pain. That's been a theme throughout my entire life. It's like
mm,
anytime I share my loss with someone, it's like people will say like they can't listen to my episodes I've put out about Jake, or, if I post a clip of me crying, they can't listen
mm,
to that episode because it makes them too sad. People can't finish my book that I wrote forever ago, book about my childhood story, because it makes them too sad. That used to hit me in the I'm too much space, and I
mm,
don't let it now. It comes up and I'm like, hey, that's your old story that you're too much. You're not too much. You're perfect. They're
mm,
communicating their capacity for feeling, and that has nothing to do with you. But it's been a constant theme, and it irritates the shit out of me. I just let myself feel irritated, and then um, I kind of just label them as an unsafe person to talk to about
yeah.
my shit, you know?
Yeah. I love that too much feeling that when you're going through grief, I think that is a common thing, that you're too much, and people
Mhm.
do that. And also that you're selfish,
Yes.
but having boundaries, reading through bullshit, um, putting yourself first in a healthy, for your health, is not selfish. And I would
Exactly.
say that, but it's interesting that it has that word behind it. And I've certainly found that if I'm selfish, I'm selfish. I know I'm not selfish because I have a great deal of capacity and empathy for
Right.
other people around me. However, I'm selfish in how I present in the world. I'm selfish in how, like I said, I set my world up, and I will say no. I won't do things purely because I have to. I need to want to. That's a big
Exactly.
change, and that can be seen as selfish. So I somewhat embrace that, because I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we're all selfish.
Right.
We should be. That's part of
Yes.
autonomy and part of being well, and treating ourselves with respect, but also others. And, like we've said, when I show up for someone, I show up for someone because I'm in a safe place and I'm feeling okay. When you show up for someone and you're not in a safe place, that can do more damage than actually just taking some time and working through it. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
well, yeah,
mm,
especially because of the resentment that builds when you self-abandon like that.
yeah, yeah,
Because then you're
yeah,
fully gonna expect that they will self-abandon for you, and they're not
yeah,
going to, and you shouldn't expect that, so just don't do it for them either.
yeah,
I just
yeah.
call it self-preservation, and it's funny because
Mm,
I am not afraid the fear comes up. I don't let fear stop me anymore of saying no. Like, I used to war with myself about that. Even like people asking to come on my show. I'm saying no to 99% of people, because if they're not going to offer
mm,
the kind of conversation I can walk away feeling real warm and fuzzy from, it's not happening, because I can't have
yeah,
conversations that drain me. Because if you drain me, I'm drained. Like, you're going to take all of
mm,
my reserves, and those
mm,
reserves are how I exist in this world, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
well, I could talk to you for hours. I'm not going to keep you anymore. Tell us again where we can find you. I've loved seeing your stuff on Instagram, by the way.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. So Instagram, but my main thing is this is grief.nz. So that's my website. But yeah, I do have Instagram. It's this is griefnz, I think, as well on Instagram. Isn't it funny when you forget what your handle things
I
are?
think there's a dot in Z, if I
Oh,
remember.
yeah. Yeah.
But I'll
But
make
if you
sure
go
I
to
find it and include it in the show notes again.
oh,
And
thank
I will
you.
also link our first conversation in the show notes.
Yeah.
So that'll be
But
in there too.
yeah, but my site has got lots of things for grievers, lots of things for supporters. I have a book. I've got my second book coming out really shortly. In the
I
next few
didn't
months.
know that.
Oh, I know. Oh, you'll love this one. Sorry, just really quickly is my second book, and it's. I imagine, I think it'll be about August by the time it comes out, but it's just gone to the publishers now. But it is talking about grief through the eyes of my 17-and-a-half-year-old dog. So I had a lot of questions about what grief is like for animals, but it's also got a bit of humor in it. It's talking about like animals are so powerful, and like Buster, who's my dog, was one of the greatest support. So it's a little bit like there's humor. It's about his day. It's through him. But it's about how he stays. The book is called Stay. How, that just
Oh, that makes me
staying.
cry. I love
Yeah,
it.
just staying and being beside people is the support. So it's about lessons that we can learn from our animals. So it's a lighter read. There's, like I said, funny moments in it, sad moments in it, but it goes through the day of a dog and what they do. He's got the neighborhood cat Nigel that he hates that always makes an appearance through the book. And yeah, I really
Oh
loved,
my
loved,
gosh, I'm
loved, loved
so
writing it.
excited
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I
Oh
really,
man, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Something, just a different way of looking at grief, I think.
Yeah. In a really non-threatening way too.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
like
And
that. Good for
yeah,
you, little Miss Creative.
it was fun. That was a fun one. I would make myself laugh when I was writing it.
Good. Oh,
So,
I can't
yeah,
wait. That's so exciting. Well, again,
yeah.
I will make sure that I include all of your links in the show notes, and I'm going to link our last conversation. And I just love that you came back. I love this conversation. I just appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for having me and love it all. So, yeah.
You're so welcome. Okay, I'm pressing stop. Hang out for 1 sec. Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share. Emotionally Unavailable. All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming.
INDEPE and cut.
Are you noticing your car insurance rate creep up even without tickets or claims? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry handles the legwork by comparing quotes side by side from over 50 top insurers so you can confidently hit buy. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Jerry even tracks rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Don't settle for higher rates. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/Libsyn today. That's jerry.ai/LIBSYN.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. That's ziprecruiter.com/zip. ziprecruiter.com/zip.